Hi, Portland. How are you? All right. I'm excited to be here. I just recently got married. No, keep it to yourself. It's just a pillar of our society, that's all. No, but I proposed to my now wife. I proposed to her on a hot air balloon because I'm a romantic and I hate having money around. And actually, the real reason I did it was because for the past 3.5 years, every single time I'd ever say to her, like, hey, I have a surprise for you, she would always say, ooh, is it a hot air balloon ride? And I'd be like, no, it's not. And then I was like, this is going to be so romantic. It's finally going to be a hot air balloon ride. And turns out that was just her funny way of saying the thing she would like the least in the world. So she had a panic attack for an hour, because you can't land a hot air balloon early, you just gotta wait for it to crash, because that's how that invention works. I thought it would be romantic. Guys, if you think it's romantic, do this simple test, all right? Draw on the ground a 3-foot by 3-foot square, and then stand in that square with your back to your beloved, because it's too small, you can't turn around, while she shits her pants for an hour. Oh, and add a weirdo. Like a real weirdo. Like, oh, I don't know, maybe somebody who's dedicated their life to hot air ballooning? You know, a ballooner. Or a balloonist. I don't know what you call them. Oh, a balloon pilot. A balloon pilot? A balloon pilot. I'm a pilot. Oh, of what? A balloon. And then have him rub up against you for an hour. Oh, also, add a flamethrower inches from your head. And are you in a super lightweight, unbreakable plastic box? No! You are in a basket made of turn-of-the-century lawn furniture. So if you think that's romantic, get into it, guys. I'm excited to be married. My wife is wonderful. I'm excited just so I don't have to eat alone at restaurants anymore. I always eat alone at restaurants. I was recently eating alone at a Chinese food place. And guys, when I eat at a Chinese food place, I use the chopsticks because I respect people's culture. And the chopsticks are the gentlemen of the utensil world, because every single piece of food needs to be individually invited to the mouth party. Ooh, single piece of broccoli. Would you like to come to the party? Yes, you would. Ooh, water chestnut, whatever you are. Would you like to come to the party? Yes, you would. Ooh, peanut, would you like to come? Oh, peanut doesn't want to come. Oh, peanut's very difficult to pick up. Oh, peanut, you're being very difficult. And who's there? Fork is there. Good old American Fork. He's a good old boy from Kansas. He's just stared up at me like, what am I here for? Unless to help you. So I throw down those chopsticks, and now I'm fork feeding. I'm just jabbing and stabbing and jabbing. Instead, it feels good, but that peanut still doesn't want to get out that fork. But who's there? Little Spoon is there. Little Spoon's a helper spoon. He gets in on the action. And guys, this is a Chinese food place, so there's definitely a serving spoon. So now, 3 minutes in, I've gone from using chopstick to just 2 spoons. Big spoon and little spoon, helps it on and shovels it down. And I do not know why 2 spoons is not America's utensils. We do it in the bedroom, let's do it in the dining room, guys. Thank you very much.
Kurt Braunohler, everybody, here on Livewire.
Thank you.
So obviously Braunohler is just some made-up Hollywood name.
Yeah, you know, my original name was John Tim, and I was like, you know what, I want to stand out a little bit. Maybe I should get a name that's impossible to pronounce, and maybe sounds like I have a dirty butt.
Have you ever in your entertainment career encountered an agent or a rep or somebody who said you have to be Kurt Armstrong or you need to change that?
No, I had actually talked to my manager. I was like, maybe I should change my name. He's like, why? And I was like, you don't think it's weird? But then he's like, okay, if you want to, but the only names I could come up with were like Kentucky Brown Horse or Kurt Sherbert. Like, all of them were bad. So I was like, I'm just going to give myself a worse name.
Well, tell me about your jet ski trip down the Mighty Miss.
That was, so I jet skied from Chicago to New Orleans in order to raise money to send 500 goats and 1,000 chickens to African families in need. It's just kind of like I guess I'm the idiot Cheryl Strayed.
Had you ever been on a jet ski?
I hadn't been on a jet ski for about 15 years. And I've never been on the Mississippi. You know what? You realize very quickly, because you start in the Great Lakes, or I started in the Great Lakes, and Chicago River to the Illinois River to the Mississippi, and very quickly you realize that the industrial, the Illinois River is an industrial waterway. No commercial traffic. It's just barges, and you're just miles and miles of just junkyards. Gravel pits, sand pits, gravel pits, and more junkyards. And you quickly realize that they were never meant to be navigated by a vehicle primarily intended for divorced dads to get drunk on and still seem cool to their kids.
How long did it take you?
It took us 7 days.
How many miles a day is that?
We had to average we tried to get in about 300 a day. Which is a lot on a jet ski, guys. It's like constantly doing squats while someone tries to rip your arms off. And we had a lot of mishaps. I'm not going to lie to you. 20 miles in, all the boats ran out of gas. All of the boats ran out of gas.
So did you have a support boat?
Yes. So I did this as part of essentially Comedy Central was documenting this whole thing, and we've turned it into a web series called Roustabout, which comes out January 26th. I had a camera boat, and then I had a safety boat, and then I had my jet ski. And there was supposed to be 6 gas stations along this first route between the Chicago River and the Illinois River, and all of them were closed, and we don't know why. And so when a boat runs out of gas, it's not like a car comes to the stop, it just drifts into danger. And we actually had to have like a PA run and go to a Sears 2 hours away, buy gas cans, fill them up, drive back, and then jump over a fence and run through a field that's just ruled by rats, and stand on the top of an 8-foot wall and throw gas down to our boat. This is the best part. While we're there's a thing called the fish barrier that's in the Illinois River, and the fish barriers, there's this thing called Asian carp, which are an invasive species. They're coming up the Mississippi, and if they make it to the Great Lakes, they will decimate the ecosystem there. So what people have decided to do is their answer to this problem is they've just electrified the river in one section. So for about a half mile, the river's electrified, and I'm on a jet ski, and that's where we have to stop for gas.
I really hope those kids in Africa appreciate their chickens. Hold on.
Realize how dumb the adventure was to get it in the chickens.
Hang on one second, Kurt. We got to take a very short break. We'll be back with more Live Wire from PR. We've got Kurt Braunohler here. Stay with us. Welcome back to Livewire Radio from PRI. My name is Luke Burbank. We're here with the comedian Kurt Braunohler. We're talking about things that are funny because they're true this week. And what I love so much about your comedy is how true a lot of it seems in its own bizarre way. Like the thing you were doing with greeting cards for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Was that just a one-time deal, or is that just a way you entertain yourself occasionally?
I think it's still a way I entertain myself. What I would do is I would go into a pharmacy and I would buy a bunch of greeting cards and take them home and then change them inside so that they were jokes, and then bring them back and just put them back in the piles. Like one of them was, I think it was a dinosaur. It was a card for a kid who was turning 3, and she said happy birthday, and I just wrote like 1 more year till memories.
You're like the mom in Charlotte's Web. You're just sending these little comedy babies out on the wind.
I don't know where they go. Let them live where they will.
You just taped are we allowed to talk about this? Is it some
we
kind
can
of a
talk about
showbiz jinx, or is there a non-disclosure thing you've signed?
There's no NDA. No, we can talk about it. It's not a jinx. I have no idea what's happening with it, but I'd love to talk about it.
Okay, so you just shot a pilot for Comedy Central that is now in their hands, I guess. Tell me about it.
Yeah, it's called Getting Some Strange with Kurt Braunohler, and it's all about weird news. So it's kind of the Daily Show of the absurd. So it's all the weirdest news. Like one of the news stories we led with was a feral pig in Australia broke into a campsite, drank 18 beers, chased a cow around a car, and then passed out under a tree.
That is the most Australian pig I've ever heard of.
It's a very Australian
You know,
pig.
he saw an American pig and he was like, this is a beer.
And then he surfed away, which was amazing. So that's the kind of stories we would cover.
Is that the first time that you've actually been the host of what could be a TV show? I mean, is this for you like a really big accomplishment?
It is. It will. I did host a TV show already called Bunk on IFC. It's it was a parody of a game show. So it was a game show, but all the contestants, there was no answers to any of the questions, and all of the contestants were comedians. So it would be my second show, but this would be the first one anyone would see.
Considering I asked you if this is your first show you're hosting, I think that indicates what the awareness of Bunk was.
Pretty much. But check it out. It's on Netflix, guys. I think you'll like it.
So you're a comic, which means you're legally obligated to also have a podcast.
It is. Once you enter LA County, they just give you one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a Tamagotchi. You have to feed and care for it and keep it alive, whether or not you want it.
It's exhausting. Just let that sit.
I was hearing from one of the producers that you were saying you feel bad because the podcast for you is a thing you're always remembering. I got to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I do honestly feel bad in a way about podcasting because podcasting is an art form. As you know, like you have a very popular podcast, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it's very popular. And it is, because I'm a comedian first, and the podcast is kind of a way for me to still get my viewpoint out in the world, and so I always feel like stand-up's the first focus, and then podcasting, I'm always like, oh no, I forgot to do the podcast, when in reality, more people listen to my podcast than have ever seen me live, you know? So I really should, I've got terrible priorities, is what I'm saying.
Do you remember anything about what I started the show off talking about? A bad decision to try to be funny and really very drunk on stage. You were in that thing with me,
I was
right?
in that. I was one of the contestants on the Truth or Dare where you did 14 shots of tequila in 30 seconds. And what was amazing about it, from my perspective, was you did it, and then you were like really excited for about 7.5 minutes, and then you got really quiet. And then during your quiet part, because another memory of that show is one of the dares was a alligator was brought out on stage and it had to hug me. So the thing you don't remember is me being hugged by an alligator, which seems like a thing you would imagine after 14 shots of tequila, but that was the real thing that happened.
Wow. That was kind of a rolling brownout for me. That was a rolling brownowler for me. We keep talking about things being funny because they're true. For you, is that an important part of your comedy? Like, because some comedians will do jokes about things that have never occurred in their life. They're just a funny premise. Seems like a lot of your material, a la the hot air balloon, a lot of the stuff is really just pulled directly out of your life. Is that the stuff you think works best for you?
I think that I'm moving in that direction now, and it's something I'm learning. I think when you first start off doing comedy, you're just like, gotta have these jokes that are weird and nobody's thought of this before, and then you kind of realize like, oh, actually, you don't have to have the most, or at least for me, you don't have to have the most absurd, weirdest premise. Like a normal premise with a fantastically cool ending is much better, I think. That's where I kind of reverse my thinking on it. So you get them in normal, and then we go somewhere fun.
Where are you from?
Jersey.
Really?
Yeah.
You sound like you have like a Midwest accent.
That is so weird. I don't know. I picked up a way of saying like hats, and that's, I think, maybe it. But that's just, I just picked up that. I say hats weird.
People can't tell because this is radio, but you just seem like the most kind of corn-fed Midwest guy.
Yeah, I look like I'm coaching your baseball team, and you can ask me for a loan. It's okay.
Did your wife say yes in the hot air balloon?
No, she wouldn't turn around. She was shaking the whole time, and then the weirdo just kept giving us facts about the valley we were floating by, because he was just like, he knew I was going to propose, and he was just trying to do anything he could to get her to calm down, which was just by spewing the most boring facts. And she refused to turn around. I kept rubbing her back, and she just like shaking in a crash position, like she was ready to go down. Like if thinking that like we're like 1,000 feet up, but thinking like if she's flexing her legs, then she's gonna survive this.
She's gonna jump right before the elevator hits
right, exactly.
the ground floor.
But so I had to wait, and it actually turned out nice because I waited. We landed right next to a grapefruit orchard, and so we just kind of walked into the grapefruit orchard, and I asked, and she was just so happy to be alive that she said yes.
Kurt Braunohler, ladies and gentlemen, right here on Livewire.